Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited to be introducing my guest for today, Jennifer Stewart, because she is not only a fantastic entrepreneur, but also a great leader and a good friend as well. She is truly one of the most impressive people that I have met in the past couple of years as I've been in real estate. And a little bit about Jennifer, she's owned her own real estate virtual assistant agency for the past 8 years and has been really heavily involved in off-market acquisitions as an investor as well for the past decade. And recently, she has been with eXp Realty as a referral agent with the Wolfpack, also helping other real estate agents get more deals, and of course, just serving homeowners in different ways, giving them different solutions as well. So, Jennifer, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you on and just have you share your wealth of knowledge that you've accumulated throughout your career.
Thank you, Kobe. It's great to be here. And I remember meeting you 4 years ago, and you have just continued to impress me as a young man. And I have enjoyed introducing you virtually to my oldest son so that he kind of has someone to emulate as he eventually joins the Wolfpack, hopefully here in 3 years, whenever he turns 18. And so thank you for being a guiding light for the younger people in showing them what's possible if you put your nose to the grindstone and really focus. And so I'm equally excited to be here and get to catch up with you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. I was excited to meet him as well. Just knowing that there's people even younger than I am getting into real estate, as early as they are. So it's really exciting. But Jennifer, why don't you share with us a little bit about your background, right? So, I mean, obviously, we've known each other for a little bit, and there's people on the internet who know who you are as well. But for our listeners out there who, if it's the first time they're meeting you, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you get into the line of businesses that you're in right now?
Great. So who I help, right? I want to start with that because a lot of times people don't know who the avatar of who the person speaking, who do they help? So I help both investors who are looking for properties off market, whether it's commercial or residential, and also realtors as well, people who are looking for properties to list. And the main way that I do that is I find properties off market by finding motivated sellers. So in finding the motivated sellers, what we do, Kobe, is we pull lists of people who are more likely to be motivated. So let's say because there's a huge problem with unaffordability on the MLS right now. I mean, I understood. I went to a conference last week and they said that the loan volume is down by 90% from 2021, which is wild. So what we need to do as operators is make sure that the properties that we are bringing to market, that whether it's listing or off market, need to be within that threshold of the buyer who has a median income household. And right now, from what I understand, only 13% of properties on the MLS across the US are accessible based on affordability for the median income buyer. So what we're doing is we're looking right now for properties that are 350K and below. We're looking for properties that have at least 50% equity. We're looking for tax liens, code violation, divorce, pre-probate, probate, pre-foreclosure and absentee. I love those. Vacant, tired landlords are kind of my bread and butter because most landlords have two or three properties that have gone non-performing that they want to get rid of. And whether it's off market with a seller, off market with an investor, or whether it's listing it with a realtor, we want to make sure that whoever we put in front of them is competent, knows what they're doing, and we want to make sure that we have an end buyer. It doesn't help anyone for properties to just sit. So right now, a lot of my lending buddies, they're in trouble because properties are just sitting from their flipping borrowers, and the flippers have properties just sitting, so they've stopped flipping. So I'm really advising my clients who are doing off market to do more wholesaling right now to people who are purchasing for buy and hold purposes. So it's a decent time to buy for buy and hold, at least compared to flipping, right? And then if you are listing properties, you don't want listings that are just sitting there. That doesn't help anybody. And I understand the luxury market is moving. Like they're still getting properties above asking on a lot of the 1.2 million plus properties. So that's great. I don't really operate in that space, but I know that it exists. I prefer high volume businesses, and by inherent design, a luxury is going to be more low volume, kind of like commercial. And I like commercial. I'm literate in commercial. I've taken a lot of commercial classes and I do commercial acquisitions for my clients. But from my personal preference and how I run a business, I like high profit, high margin, high volume, and just keep it simple. I like really, really simple processes. And so that's what I do. And then you asked, how did I get into it? Well, I basically got headhunted by a friend of mine that I've known since middle school. And she needed a cold caller for her boss. She was kind of like a lead manager. And for those who don't know, a lead manager is someone, whenever a lead comes in, they're the ones who kind of follow up, set appointments, and get things back on the calendar for the investor, or it could be for a realtor as well. Well, they just needed a good old-fashioned lead generation cold caller. And she was so generous. She offered me a job for $5 an hour, which I was happy to take because I had just given birth and our rent was going up. We were on the other side of the real estate equation. And my husband at the time, the income wasn't supporting the raises in rent, which a lot of people are facing right now. Even though rents have gone down a little bit, inflation is just killing everybody for the most part. And so that $5 an hour, Kobe, allowed me to make enough money to where we didn't have to move in with my in-laws. That extra $200 a month at 15 hours a week made it so that we could stay in our crappy little apartment with our brand new baby and our 5-year-old. And so from that very, very humble beginning, and I had just graduated college at age 30, by the way. And my grandma was like, Jen, why are you taking this job that pays $5 an hour? You just graduated summa cum laude with a science degree. Like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, I said, Mimi, give me 10 years. And I know that I can take this skill set, which is very high valued, and explode it. So basically, it was almost like, I don't want to say it was an internship, but that's kind of how I looked at it, right? And I got pretty good at cold calling, but at first I was terrified and terrible. So I just want to share that for people out there. I was really, 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 really bad. And you have to be willing to be bad. I'm starting over on something else in terms of just, learning land wholesaling because it's doing decently in this market. All of a sudden, I'm getting a lot of demand for people who need land wholesaling acquisitions. So I'm having to kind of humble myself a little bit and learn how to do land, right? It's like I can do the property wholesaling in my sleep, but land is different. I have to comp differently. I have to go to different resources to look things up. I have to ask different questions. It's like harder to find you have to, get an APN, and the APNs, you have to find the county, and it's not like an address, right? It's different. And how do you comp? What tools do you use? So I'm having to learn that all over again, what kind of scripts, how to pitch. So when I first started, I really was terrified and terrible. I wanted to give up. And if I didn't have the necessity behind it, I probably would have given up. If I had any other feasible opportunities that I could have done from home that paid more, I would have given up. But that was the only job that was being offered to me, to be able to work from home with a baby in my arms. And that's what I did. And that's how I got started, Kobe. So thank you for asking. And I just want to encourage people to give yourself the grace and space to be terrified and terrible for a little bit and push through it. Who cares? I mean, people don't see you fail in private. And I think Connor has said that. People don't see those bad conversations. They see what you do in public. They see when you're winning. They don't see the embarrassing, ham-handed pitches that you failed. They don't see your bad sales calls. I can tell you, I have had hundreds of bad sales calls, hundreds, if not thousands of bad sales calls, right? And so it's like the people who are the most successful have the most failures that you never saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you shared that because, I've known you for a little bit and I just understand how confident you speak right now, whether it's on camera or I'm sure it translates also into the phone as well. And as a leader, and for people who are looking at it from the outside, they don't see the beginning, right? They don't see that in the beginning, everybody who is confident today started out as somebody who was bad, right? Who was nervous,
Oh
who was
yeah.
really afraid to get on the phone. And I think it's an important skill to have, like you mentioned as well. You're, able to take that skill set and really explode it in your career. And I think it doesn't matter what right, what you're in, what industry, right? Whether if you're in real estate, whether if you're an
Right.
agent or an investor, being able to have that skill to, not be afraid to reach out to, craft your pitches, I think is so important. Would you, obviously agree with that as well? And yet after having, come this way.
That's right. And then people are like, well, how do you feel now that your skill set's totally obsolete with AI? It's like, well, here's the thing. I'm ready to sell AI products tomorrow. I have three different companies teed up that can put my brand on it, my name. But the problem is that anytime I see demos or some of my colleagues are using, they're like, hey, the hang up rate's still really high. People want to talk to other people until you can sell real estate like you can selling shoes on eBay. They need people. Like it doesn't take, I don't need any kind of legal knowledge or any type of specialty knowledge to sell used shoes on eBay, right? I create a post, I create an account, I have my bank account. When it ships, I have the shipping label and then I ship it and that's it. But so far as I know, there's really no way to do that yet. Now, maybe blockchain is going to change a lot of that, right? I mean, maybe with blockchain, maybe you can just put your address, your property, and like a sample contract, and then whoever wants to buy it can buy it. I mean, that may be the future and that would be really cool. But even if that's the case, we can still call people and say, hey, have you thought of selling your property? And like, well, now that you're calling, what would you offer? Or yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'd like to sell it, but I don't know how. So I think there's still going to be room for real people, even with AI callers, because people don't want to talk to AI. I mean, think about whenever you have a problem with an Amazon, like whenever you call Amazon customer service, doesn't it really suck to get their crappy AI? It's like, come on, dude, it's like a multi-billion-dollar company, and I have access to better AI calls than this. This is crazy. And I don't want to talk with a chat bot to help me. I want to pick up the phone and I want to talk to a live person, preferably someone who speaks English as a first language, considering the complexity of what I'm about to discuss, right? So although I do love AI in almost all facets, I use it maybe 2, 3 hours a day for multiple things, but people still want to talk to real people and not hang up, right? So that skill set is still useful. And I think it probably always will be. Now, who can anticipate what the world's going to look like in 30, 40 years? I've been alive 40 years and I have been on the phone since I was 15 years old, right? I started working in a pizza place, and then I was a receptionist in my late teens, and I was hired for my phone skills even at 15, 16, 17 years old. So I mean, having the ability to have a conversation very different from the one I'm having now. Like right now, I'm talking a lot. But whenever I'm the one who's trying to buy or sell, I do a lot more listening than talking. That's really, really crucial. In fact, there's all kinds of software now where you can have something like listen to you. Even if you're doing a sales meeting on Zoom, you can have this little ticker in the top left that shows you, how much are you talking versus the other person. And what all the stats show is that if you're talking more than 50%, your odds of closing goes down by like 80 to 90%. It's really, really ridiculous. So if you're talking a lot, you're not going to get that sale. And I've noticed that too. I'm like, oh man, I'm talking a lot. I just probably just blew this, but oh well, what are you going to do? It's water under the bridge at that point, right? So just catch yourself. If you're talking a lot, they're not engaged. You're like trying to pull a donkey through the mud if you're talking a lot, right? You have to ask the right questions that get them talking, or you're not selling a darn thing. And so just remember that as well.
Yeah, that's such a great tip, I think, because a lot of people think that they have to be the ones presenting everything in a sales situation or,
Yes.
having to explain themselves a lot when they're talking on the phone, especially when you get a little nervous, right? You tend to talk a little bit more,
Yeah,
right? You tend to add things in there that you may or may not, it may or may not resonate with the other person as well. So I think that's a really great tip that you have for other agents out there, other investors. And then going back to what you said earlier about communication and sales as a skill, I think as AI develops, moving forward, again, we don't know what's going to happen, with all the development and what's going to
right.
happen in the future. But I think it's going to become even more important of a skill to be able to communicate with other people either face to face, on Zoom, or over the phone as well. I think that's going to become not just a skill that will always stay, but it'll actually become a skill that will actually be more important to have. And you want to be able to hold on to these skill sets and develop them and improve on them as well as other people begin using AI. You can always rely on the fact that you can always communicate with somebody face to face or over the phone in a voice conversation as well.
That's true. Just kind of like it's a flex now to not recreate through a computer or your phone, right? Who the people with money, are they recreating on their computer on the weekends? Or are they in paper? Their nose is in a paper book. They're out in nature, they're out. It used to be, nerds were on the computers on the weekend, and now it's the people who are more likely to be overweight and impoverished. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just talking about resources and exposure. Some people just aren't exposed to better. We don't know better until we know better. And so I think that's a great point, because that's what it reminds me of, Kobe, is in the future, I think not having AI whenever it comes to customer interfacing might be the flex. Maybe, right? To your point.
Yes, I definitely think so as well. So, kind of going back into a little bit about your experience and what you're doing now. So, you started your virtual assistant agency about you said 8 years ago. So,
Yes.
walk us through that. Obviously, cold calling virtual assistants they do go hand in hand. But what was it that really kind of got you into starting your own agency and now being able to serve a lot of investors and agents all at the same time?
Thank you for asking that, Kobe. I was a top-rated freelancer on Upwork. I had pretty much all 5 stars, and back then the economy was better, and also Upwork was not a publicly traded company, and so people could send me invitations to interview for free. Now it costs money, and so there's less of that, plus people just aren't hiring as much. So I think at one point, Kobe, I had 300 invitations to interview, and it was just me. And so I was completely overwhelmed by the demand. Uh, I mean, I'm just telling you, everybody wants an American female caller, but for some reason, they're the hardest to find. I think number one, it's because it's a hard job. And number two, most people can't afford Americans anyways. They want that, but they can't afford it. I mean, with inflation, it's like $40 an hour now is legitimately a living wage for a family. And so they want cheaper, and Americans can't afford to be cheaper than $40 an hour. They really can't. And so I had a huge demand for my services. Thank God. I really thank God for that. And so Upwork came to me and said, "Hey, would you mind being a beta tester for our agency concept?" And let me tell you something, Kobe, I was in a rough place at that time. I was fresh on a divorce, and I had $4,000 to my name, and I had my bills were $4,000 a month. So I had a 1 month run. So I had to make money. And so I paid people $10 to just join my agency. I was like, hey, if you want to do sales, I'll pay you $10 just to put up a profile, and I'll just start sending you these jobs, right? These jobs would come into my inbox, and I'll just start sending you jobs. Well, guess how that worked out? That worked out terribly because I was just taking anyone who said they want to do sales and was breathing. So that worked out pretty poorly. And I kissed so many frogs. I mean, Americans, they would just ditch me without notice. They were like, "Jen, I don't understand this job." I'm like, "Here's the phone. Here's the script. Here's the list to call. It's that's it. Like that's the job." "I don't understand. I need more structure." I'm like, "Okay, here's your structure. Work 8 to 5, take a lunch break, boom, there you go." I couldn't relate, Kobe, because what was news to me was that I was a leader. What? Wait a minute. I'm a girl, and I look like I do, and I'm a leader. Like that's not what we were told growing up. Like, I'm supposed to be a trophy wife. Now, that's not as true today, okay? Like, to be fair, women are a lot more empowered today than they were even 8 years ago. It's a huge difference. And I don't feel that that's a stigma or an impediment at all now. but I really didn't. And people even say, "Wait, you own this business? You own it?" And then they would kind of get turned off, like, "Oh, well, who does she think she is?" So I started telling a little white lie, going, "Hey, you know what? I'm super busy, but here's my colleague, Bob. Oh, your colleague, great. Okay, well, thanks so much for the referral." And it was like, so that was how I would start to get a lot more clients because I no longer had that resistance against being a female business owner. And so that's how I got started, but I did have to kiss a lot of frogs in terms of staff. And then finally, I got two or three good ones. So I got a lot of bad reviews at first. Now, thank God those are all buried after hundreds of good reviews, legitimate good reviews over the years. And then COVID came, and all of the Americans went on extended unemployment. Even though, because before unemployment was only possible if you had a W-2 job. But with the extended unemployment with COVID, all of a sudden you could be a 1099er and independent contractor and get on extended unemployment. So literally all of my Americans, except for two veteran males, God bless them, they served our country, they understood hard work, they were not going to disrespect our country by going grifting on the extended unemployment. But everybody else did. So all of a sudden, I lost all my staff except for these two guys. By the way, they made more money with me than they would have on the extended unemployment, but they wanted that passive income on that grift, right? So then I was like, oh crap. How am I going to service all these clients? Well, luckily, another female agency owner came to me and said, "Hey, I have all of these Filipino VAs. And I don't have a lot of clients like you do. So could we merge? Could we combine?" And I don't take on partners, but I said, we could do a profit sharing, right? Whoever you bring me, whatever our profit is, we'll split it. Well, she eventually left the business due to distress. I mean, just kind of just seriously walked into the night and disappeared, which wasn't great because her people, I paid her the money to pay her people. So she basically left a lot of them unpaid. And then they came to me, and I was like, oh man. So some of them I paid, some of them I didn't. It just depended on whether or not they could prove the work, right? And so, but the ones who stayed, and this is important, the ones who stayed were excellent. Finally, Kobe, it took me 3 years, okay? I just want to put that out there into the interwebs. It took me 3 years of kissing frogs before I had a core team who I could truly, truly count on for my clients. So I want to just encourage you to keep up with whatever it is you're doing. Now, at the same time, I was cold calling, doing acquisitions and lead management myself at the same time. But once I had a core team, I was finally able to step away from doing day-to-day work myself. And now I could be building on the business, not in the business. This is why paying your people a lot is important because I pay my virtual assistants way more than my competitors do, way more. So it makes me more expensive. But guess what? I have zero turnover, which is how you really build a business. You have to have zero turnover, period, if you truly want passive income. Running my VA agency is more passive than rentals. It's more passive than notes. It's more passive than anything else I've done. And I don't have to have some big capital expenditure up front. I don't have to buy into a note. I don't have to put down payment on a rental. You know what I'm saying? All I had to do was spend 3 years of my life finding these really good people. And then guess what? Guess what good people do, Kobe? You know this. Good people refer good people. So good, those good people, those three core people I started with that were good, then they referred good people. And then they referred good people. And then they referred good people. And before I knew it, I had a ton of good, high quality, high converting callers who could truly, number one, get motivated sellers, set the appointments, sometimes close deals. But it took years. It took years. So now I'm at a point where I have no turnover, no bad staff, and the only variable I have is a lot of times clients are just too busy. Like they start and they realize they're too busy to like actually get in and make the appointments. Or they don't know how to close because they don't have the skill sets, right? They don't know how to wholesale yet. They're just kind of getting their feet wet and they think, oh, I'm just going to show up and close. Like You really have to invest in your, so like my realtor clients, one of them's like, oh, well, I didn't get any listings this month. I'm like, have you done any listing training? Have you been to Mike Ferry? Have you been to any of these other really, really good, listing, like people who can train you how to do listings? Like you need to have that skill set and build it at the same time you're building, like you have to put in the reps, right? And there is going to be a cost of putting in the reps. Now you can put in the reps calling the phone book, but I don't think you're going to get the practice that you really need, right? You need to talk to people who have some similar, but for free you can get the expired list like all the realtors do. You can get all the, like, what's FISBOs? FISBOs and expireds are the ones that realtors like to do, right? Well, we can do those for people, but we also do all the motivated sellers like what I told you about, right? But you can always pick up a FISBO list or expired list for free and practice your listing skills on those. But once you're ready to, like, you're confident in your listing skills, that's when I would encourage people to come my way. And then you're going to make it so uh, you don't really have competition. Realtors almost never do that because their brokers tell them not to. But here's what my lawyer told me in order to make it legal, right? We're calling to purchase the property, like as investors. But we're the ones calling. We're the ones talking to them. We're the ones saying, hey, it sounds like you're a nice person with a nice property. You have everything fixed up. You don't need to sell quickly. Sounds like you wouldn't be a great candidate for our off market investment, acquisitions. But it sounds like you'd be a great candidate for putting your property on the market, right? It sounds like top dollar is the most important to you and you have it really fixed up. Wouldn't it be a good time for Kobe to give you a buzz and make sure we get you top dollar on that property, right? So we are genuinely calling to purchase it off market, which is totally legal. But if they don't fit that criteria because their house is too nice and they don't need to sell quickly, then that's whenever we pivot to a realtor recorded with prior consent, right? So if they complain, oh, well, so and so called me. Well, guess what? We have a call showing that you consented to it, right? Which has never happened, by the way, in my thousands and thousands of calls. I've never had someone get in trouble, probably because we do it right or we've been lucky. I'm not sure, but that type of volume, it's probably a little bit more than luck. Um,
Right.
so that's how we do it legally for the realtors, right? And so that's the process, and that's what it took. I mean, in terms of getting started, we had to find the right staff. And we don't have any staff turnover, but we do have client turnover because you have to bring the skill sets to know how to either A, close off market, whether it's wholesale or purchasing as a buy and hold or purchasing it as a flip. And then you have to have the skills to list the properties, right? And the people who invest in those skills and who put in the reps and who don't give up and don't make excuses, they kill it. They kill it, and I never hear from them. And here's what I've learned, and I've heard Mike Sherrard say this too, is that the people who bother you, like who are high maintenance, those are never the people who do anything. So I know as soon as a client goes high maintenance, they're probably going to quit in 1 to 2 months, right? And I'm not talking about asking for help. I'm talking about like nitpicking and like relying on me for every little knowledge point. And I'm like, I'm here to make sure you have good cold callers. I'm here to help you wherever. But whenever I start to hear complaints and excuses versus, oh, here, I found this resource. I found this resource. Here's how this appointment went. And I'm really excited about this, right? You have to believe in yourself. And I noticed that most people fail because they don't believe in themselves. And there's this book that I'm reading that you might appreciate. It's called The Biology of Belief. And the
Mhm.
page that I'm on talks about how our programming subconsciously will not allow us to go against it. So our subconscious meaning, so here was the experiment. If I was to come to you, Kobe, and I was to have you hold out your arm like this, and I said, all right, I want you to say, my name is Kobe Zen, and then I try to push your arm down, well, obviously you're a strong man and I'm a skinny girl. I wouldn't be able to move your arm. But in the experiments, if they have you name an opposite gender name,
Mhm.
and if I were to say, hey, Kobe, I want you to say, my name is Mary and I'm a pretty girl or something silly, right? My name's Mary, right? And then people can't resist. Like all of a sudden their arms go down. And that's crazy, right? And it's because your brain will fail if you try to go against something that is programmed as true. And there was this great pianist, I forget the name of it. I think it's called The Shine, the movie The Shine. That's what the example the book used. And his dad's programming told him that, he didn't need to be doing this, he didn't need to be doing that. And he did this amazing piano concerto. And at the end, he passed out because he went against the programming his dad had given him his whole life. And so most of our subconscious programming is telling us that we're not worth it, we're not going to make it, we don't have what it takes. And so if you think about it, what does school teach you? Teaches, oh no, don't fail. So when you fail, you get scared. Most of our parents, they're so invested in us, they don't want us to fail. So they try to get us to not do things where we're going to fail because they don't want us to get hurt. And so we learn I can't fail. And so whenever we try something and we're failing, we freak out like someone who's in the water and they're drowning. They're not calm. They don't just float on their backs. They start freaking out and it causes them to drown. And that's what my clients do. They freak out when they feel like they're failing, they quit, and that's it. I never see them again. But if you can tolerate failure, if you can tolerate sucking, you will get better, right? And it's like Connor said today, if you're sucking, you need to either figure out, you know, you're doing the wrong thing or you're not doing the right thing enough, and you have to figure out which one it is, right? So when you're sucking, that's what it is. It's exactly what he said today. And so I have no turnover on staff, just turnover on clients, and I think it's because of that. I have to push against my subconscious programming too. I grew up really poor in a house with a lot of drugs, with no food. I mean, it was bad. There was a lot of violence, no food, and a lot of drugs. So, I mean, that's like as bad as it gets. And so I have to work past that programming. And I have been called things like, selfish, narcissist, who do you think you are? And you know what I have to do, Kobe? I have to first ask, is that really true, right? Because the only way we can grow is to really ask, okay, is this true or is this person just trying to keep me down? I'm like, okay, well, I am a Christian. And so, Jesus talks about how we're sinners and we're selfish. And that's true. So I'm like, okay, so let me check my own selfishness here. Let me check my selfishness gradient here. Let me pray for more wisdom. And let me see, am I really a narcissist? But no, I think what most people are responding to is the fact that I don't have the luxury of not being confident. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that I can't take criticism. I'm not so sensitive. I want criticism. I seek out criticism. I seek it out. And I wasn't always like that. But I cannot allow someone to get in my head and make me feel like I'm not worth it, right? And so the way we get over that, and this is something Connor's talked about too, you have to feel like you deserve it. And the way you feel like you deserve it is you put in the knowledge, time, the education, and you put in the freaking reps. You put in the time. And people have said to me, Jen, how are you so confident? Well, first off, I don't always feel confident. Sometimes I feel like I'm really, really sucking and messing things up. But when I am confident, it's because whatever I'm doing, somebody else needs me. I don't have the luxury of failing. Imagine you're at a car wreck, right? And the fireman shows up. Is it time for him to have confidence issues?
You're in the car wreck. You certainly hope not.
That's right. So whenever we make it about others, we don't have the luxury of lacking confidence. We have to bring true confidence, not blind confidence, not arrogance, but what skill sets do I have where I can help this person right now? And if I don't have that skill set, then there's nothing I can do. Wash my hands of it. Just like when you're on the phone, not every deal is a closable deal. And it takes a long time to be able to determine if a deal is closable or not. So first you're going to let a lot of money slide past you. And it's just a fact. But if you have a coach there who can listen to your calls and tell you. So the point is, not every situation is salvageable and not every deal is closable. But as you gain wisdom and experience, you gain confidence going, okay, this is closable and I'm going to close it. And if I don't close it, it's my fault. Then you gain experience. You're like, this wasn't closable at all. This isn't my fault. This truly was not a closable deal, but only experience can give you that level of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a really powerful statement that you just made about being confident and stepping into the person that you really want to become in order to create the life that you want as well. So, I mean, just the journey that you've shared with us, I think is incredible. How you went from, basically being your freelancer and then now going into having your own agency with zero turnover, which is incredible. I don't I don't think I've heard of any company that has zero turnover on staff anywhere, right? Big or small, maybe super small, 2 or 3 people, but with the amount of people that you have working for you, I don't think I've heard of any other company out there that has literally zero turnover on staff. And that's just a true testament to your leadership and how well you've taken care of your people, but also, really being able to find the right people as well. Because I'm in team building as well, and a lot of other
Yes.
agents I know are right. It's one thing to bring people in, but it's another to bring the right people in that are actually making your business profitable and then keeping them, right? Because you don't want to have a situation where it's just like, like a wheel, right? It's keep going back and forth, and it never stops. So I think that's really, really powerful for a lot of people to understand. Is it's not just about what's coming in, but it's also about what you keep, as well. So, kind of shifting a little bit, just kind of wrap up today's episode, I wanted to get your take on, the fact that you did get your real estate license a few years ago and decided to join up with EXP on the referral side. What did that decision, what went into that decision? How has that experience been for you so far? And I just would love for you to be able to share with that with the audience because a lot of people out there are also investors working in real estate adjacent businesses, and they could potentially benefit from the experience that you've had as well.
Great question, Kobe. I was paying, I think, close to 3,000 a year or something like that for MLS dues that I wasn't even using. The reason why I don't list is because it slows me down compared to what I need to do. So my job is to find properties where people want to sell. That's what I do. So if I'm listing, I'm not finding motivated sellers. It
Okay.
would be very difficult to do both extremely well.
Mhm.
Now, some people say that if you want to get rich, get really, really good at one thing. And I agree with that. But the way you stay rich is by diversifying your investments, in my opinion. So, in terms of active income, yes, get really, really good at one thing. And then your profits from that. And I know you and I are both competingly frugal, and you win. Like, I mean, I always feel like I'm the most frugal person until I talk to you. And the way I have money to invest is I am ridiculously, embarrassingly frugal, shamelessly frugal, right? And that's how you have the money to do that. So you have to invest, right? And so being frugal, I don't need these MLS dues. I'm not doing anything with that. If I really need to see MLS for something, I'll just contact one of my realtor clients and say, hey, can you show me, MLS, whatever I need there. But I have other tools like PropStream and, Rehab Evaluator and other things where the MLS is not so critical. So I wanted to drop that. And then also, as you know, regular EXP is like $85 a month.
Yeah.
And so EXP referral is $55 a month. And there are some things you don't have access to. I can't remember what all it is. I know that you do the EXP explain call, so you're the one who knows all the fancy things. But with EXP referral, which is underneath the commercial division, your back office is much more simple. But the important thing is that I still have access to EXP World. I can still go in and do all of that training. And all the different things, like I'm also with Express Offers so that I can see who the hedge fund buyers are, right? That was one of my reasons for joining. But what's great about it is that as I find all these properties that are off market, but then they're like, no, I actually want to sell, with a realtor, it takes 5 minutes for me to do the paperwork. And what's great about EXP is that I can refer to anyone in the country, which is perfect because my clients are from coast to coast. The only place I haven't done cold calling or acquisitions is in Alaska. Out of all the 40 or all the 50 states, 49, I've done cold calling or acquisitions. So if I have a client in any one of those states, then I can find a realtor in EXP. Now I miss Facebook Workplace. I was glad to hear today in the meeting that they're going to be bringing something like that back. But I know that even if Facebook Workplace isn't there anymore, and I could go to the referral page or whatever and see there's another way. I mean, I can always ask Connor or Mike or somebody, who do you know in this particular state? Um, and then the paperwork takes 5 minutes. All I have to do is do a search for that realtor through the referral page, and then find them, and then fill in the information, and then I send it to them, and I sign, they sign, their broker signs, my broker signs, and that's it. I mean, that's so simple. And then you can get 25% of the revenue. Now, the key to doing that, though, for people who want to do that strategy, whether you're an investor, you want to be a referral agent and just generate these leads all day and just you want, so what I do now is I go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, who are the top 10 by volume realtors in that city, right? And then I can even narrow it down to EXP. Because what I find is that the realtors who are the most hungry, I want realtors with ego. I want realtors who have a car that you and I would never buy because we're way too frugal. If their car payment isn't at least $1,500 a month, I don't want to refer my leads to them for the most part. Now, I am trying to be a little bit funny, but you know
Right.
what I'm saying. We all know that realtor who has a really, really high ego and a really, really high skill set. I want that guy or girl. That's who I want because I know they're going to take it, they're going to work it, they're going to close it, and they have no problem paying me that 25%. I don't want the weekend realtor. I don't want the realtor who's just kind of doing it as a hobby and her husband makes all the money or his wife makes all the money. You know what I mean? Like I want full-time, hardcore, hustling realtors to refer those deals to, right? So that's my advice there. You will get burnt out and frustrated if you try to refer them to anyone who's not number one or number two in their market.
Yeah, people who are serious about the business, right? You don't want to refer them the client and then have for them to get a bad experience. That's a bad reflection on you, right? If you're finding them a realtor that isn't able to get the job done. So that's, I mean, I think that's great advice. Just finding somebody, if you're referring, right? Even if you're just an agent who's also crushing it, or just doing deals, and you have another referral, right? Agents have referrals all the time. Make sure that the person that you're referring the client to is also very competent, and you know that they take the job seriously and they're going to take your client seriously, as well. So that's some great advice. And Jennifer, just want to say thank you for taking some time today and being on the show. I really appreciated your insights, and I really personally learned a lot as well. I'm sure our listeners did too. For our listeners out there that want to get connected with you, maybe they feel like they can actually benefit a lot from your services, or maybe they just want to connect with you and learn a little bit more about what you do. What are some of the best ways for people to reach out or to get connected with you?
Great. Well, I've actually never had anyone call me, even though I always give out my cell phone number. So you can even use my cell phone number. It's 469-952-8011. That is my personal cell. My email is J is in Jennifer, E is in Earl, N is in Nancy, Jen at REI as in real estate investing. So Jen at REI data source.net. Again, that's Jen at reidatasource.net. Or you can find me on Facebook under Jennifer Stewart if you have any, we probably have a lot of mutual friends, I'm guessing, at this point, if you're already in real estate. So just Jennifer Stewart on Facebook is a really good way. And I think that probably between those three, you should be able to get a hold of me.
Yep, absolutely. We'll make sure to leave your information in the description and the show notes down below so people can be able to find you easily. But other than that, Jennifer, just wanted to say thank you again for being on the show. Before we let you go, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you want to leave with the audience here?
Yeah, I would say deeply define your why. So Tom Kroll said, define your income goal based specifically on why do you want that and need that number. Once you hit that number, if you feel like you need more, you don't have a money problem, you have a spiritual problem. And so I'd say for those of us who are driven and successful, or you grew up feeling like you weren't enough, or you grew up feeling like you were unlovable, it's interesting to see people just want to keep going and going and going, but their families suffer. They don't see their kids as much, or they never even get around to having kids, even though they want kids. I mean, there's just so many different things that come from going past your predefined why. Now, it's okay if that changes over time. But you really better dig deep and be honest with yourself about, okay, why did this goalpost truly change? Was it just inflation? Because for me, it's had to change due to inflation. Or was it the fact that really it was a me problem. It was a spiritual problem and not some actual in the world goal that I was trying to solve. If you can do that and define it, you'll be truly unstoppable because you'll have something that everybody wants and is not for sale. And that's inner peace.
Absolutely. That's some great advice. Thank you again so much for being on the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.
Thank you, Kobe. Thanks for having me.